Well, I'm with Denver Homeless Out Loud, and right now we're running a 81-hour vigil about race and homelessness. And one of our organizers came by and says, y'all ought to come by to talk to these folks. And then it happened to be an organization she was telling me about before, and before I could finish my homework about who Blue Moon was, got interrupted and whatnot, and you guys are here, so I have a bunch of questions.
Well, Blue Moon is a delicious beer that's brewed locally. He's got Blue Room,
Well,
which is a startup investing firm.
Right, and that's what I was looking at. So what I saw, and I'm hoping that you guys can fill me in on the blanks, because like I said, I haven't been able to finish my homework, is like 90% of your investments regular stuff, and then you got 10% that you're doing for special kinds of projects. But I didn't get to finish, so I'm hoping you guys can fill in the blanks and get me on top of it, because I was interested enough to look, and so got questions.
Yeah, I think that is broadly speaking true in terms of special projects and making a difference. I would honestly say, having known Min how long have I known you? Like 4 years, 5 years?
Like 5 years.
I would probably flip the sort of interest in making a difference from 10% to the 90. Like, I think that's more of the emphasis. So, the investing and the projects are as often as not about
Could you be a little more clear about that? I mean, because that's kind of gray. Get into some nuts and bolts, because I'm interested.
What we're doing here,
right?
But yeah, like for example, there's a big problem in our agricultural system with factory farming,
right?
Sort of the desecration of both the consumer and the land.
That's on the 90% side. I think I remember reading some of that.
And he's right now working on reintroducing heirloom grains that are better for the soil. I think he's looking to more sort of fundamentally change the way we approach problems. So sometimes that's going to be through a sort of capitalistic market solution, and sometimes it's going to be through more of a social emphasis.
Okay.
And I think this project falls more under the social emphasis. How'd I do?
Good. I think.
I don't mean it to be accusational. I just didn't finish my homework, so I got questions.
No, here, let me stand next to you for a second.
Sure.
Sorry. I'll keep my distance too.
I can put my mask on and we can get us both in the same shot.
Well, I guess this is good enough. At some point.
All right.
Do you mind if I take mine off for a sec? So, Blue Room, we're a startup company.
Mm-hmm.
It's myself. It's a gentleman named Omar Guzman. It's another analyst out of actually Los Angeles, Ian Carter. I also have some partners here in town. So my wife is a partner in my company.
Mm-hmm.
Another working mom from our kids' school, Emily Philpott. So basically, we have a group of really established, I'm going to call them tribal elders, kind of mid-40s and above.
Uh-huh.
They would be called successful in terms of like the normal world.
So what kinds of investment success, or running the business, or?
Well, like I said, we just started up our first meeting.
No, you said about the elders. I mean, are those people like, are they lawyers, or the investors, or this guy ran a business and this one was a teacher, and
so one of them actually, I'm really proud to
people.
say, he's the founder of this company, IdEst.
Uh-huh.
One of the, I think he should have won the James Beard Award this year for best chef in the country.
Okay. So good.
And so we have a restaurant group out of Boulder that has, we have someone named Caroline Clark, who's interim equity officer. So we're trying to think about social justice issues as a company right now. And honestly, like if I want to get the best young people in the country to kind of join and try to, as Adam said, change the way they think about problem solving, then I think I want to show them that as the founder of the company, like this matters. And what we want to do, as we did to Miss Cornelius, Anna, who brought you out here, I don't know if you had a chance to see her interview.
That probably happened when I was.
It was the first one of the day on October 10th, and it was unedited. So we gave her an opportunity to say her mind, and after that, another probably 30 people. And what we want to do is take inventory of the situation. Before we come up with a solution or read someone else's report, the way that I'd like to approach a problem, the way I'd like to teach the young people how to solve a problem, the way I'd like to actually demonstrate to my peers how to solve a problem sometimes is you have to find out for your first-hand knowledge what the situation is.
There
And
you
so
go.
that's why we're here.
All right,
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I mean,
So Ben, how long have you been working either with this organization or just on your own or other groups to address homelessness?
since the last year I was homeless. Probably 10 years now. Last couple of years I was homeless. I was trying to start my own street ministry. Then in the middle of that, some folks were getting together, starting Denver Homeless Out Loud, and we got together and we founded it. And so been at it for a while. That's what I do.
So how long were you without a house?
4.5 years.
Damn. What? I mean, tell me about your average day. Tell me about your hardest day. I mean, what's that like to somebody who hasn't had to deal with it?
Average day, get up about 5:30 in the morning, head on over to the day shelter for some coffee, and then from there head on over to the library to get some internet access, do some job search. After 2 hours of that, find something else to eat. That was the early part of it. Those were the first few months when I would use the shelter systems. But then I got time of committing all my time into line to stand in to get into shelters. I wanted my life back. Started sleeping on the ground, making friends, building community, learning how to live differently. And then at some point I'm going like, okay, I got this figured out. Don't necessarily need to live with money. Let's change some things. Because one of the things that I found that was obvious was people did not understand the homeless community. So typically people will come to the park here and they'll see about 2 or 3 or 4% of the homeless community, and was what you were talking about in Jerry's interview, the people who are doing heroin. But there's a lot more homeless out here but that nobody sees. And so what happens is the narrative gets framed around people who have the biggest struggles, but the rest of us who are homeless, we never get seen. And part of that is due that the homeless community hides from the housed community because we feel threatened by them, because we feel, one, we're going to be ostracized that way, and two, it's dangerous. If we have a safe place to hang out and we get security guarded or policed out of it, then you have to relocate and drag your stuff, and and it causes a lot of undue problems to where you almost have to restart over and over and over again until you get some opportunities to work out for you.
Point taken, and I think we've spent 5 or 6 days looking to better understand what it's like, and we've seen a lot of homeless people who seem like they're victims of circumstances. We've also seen a lot of drug use as well, and it's hard to sort of reconcile what are the biggest problems confronting the community. What were your biggest
biggest problem?
Wait, hang on, let me just get it out. 15 years ago, what were the biggest problems in your life that put you in that system in the first place?
A breakdown of family network relationships. But the biggest problem that's facing the homeless, but you're talking about a systemic problem from the face of an individual person's experience. So an individual is going to have different experiences. My experience is going to be way different than what you heard from Jerry's, different from the next guy, different from the next guy, and all of them are going to be, but the same problem.
What we're looking to hear is
the same problem, but the same problem faces all the homeless community. It's the cost of housing. And so you got to look at who's making money off of housing. In Denver, it's doubled in the past 10 years. 10 years, housing has doubled. Somebody's making money off of those investments. And what the fallout is people can't keep up. Lives fall apart. It used to be 10, 15 years ago, you could get a part-time job and you can afford an apartment and take care of yourself until you got a better job or whatever. Now, the word is on the street is you need 3 jobs to be able to afford a place. Costs $5,000 to move into a place. First, last month's rent plus security deposit at $1,400 or whatever they're getting, depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to do that. So the problem that they're facing is the housing and the investment part of it. And we live in a city that doesn't want, this city didn't have a housing conference last year that we regularly attend as an organization, as Denver Homeless Out Loud. But the last year they held it before the COVID broke up, the big talking point at the housing conference was the difference between a reasonable rate of return and a maximum rate of return. You know, these guys who are investing in these kinds of things, none of them seem to be happy with a reasonable rate of return where they can still continue to make money, but in the end, the housing and the projects would be things that people in general could develop, could afford, and they wouldn't wind out here on the street. But the city winds up keeping to game the system to where they're only building the high-end stuff because everybody's looking for the maximum rate of return, and at some point people fall out and we get this, and COVID is showing it. Denver has 320,000 living units here in the city total. That's people who own houses, people who are on mortgages, people who are on apartments. That's the total of it. You've probably heard in the news that there's 100,000 evictions coming. Some people are falling out even before their eviction process has come through because life is that complicated. So that's a third of the renters gone. Where are they going to find new renters? Well, the thing is they don't really make money off the rent. What they make their money off of is the change in equity, the increase in property value. So they don't really need the renters and they don't really care. But one of the biggest things that affects their property value is the presence of poor people out in the public. And so that's why you got me excited about an investment firm and where you guys are going and to be able to share that message.
The economics that you're talking about are interesting, and I think I agree with some of the factors that you're talking about. Some of them, I don't know that they say it, but what I want to talk to you about straight up is what this experience is like.
No.
Of not. You described having family breakdowns as part of the issue. What were they, and how did they manifest like that? Do you know what I mean? Because one of the things that worries me about where we are.
I went through a divorce, and so families break up that way. You have breaks of trust, in-laws, and all that kind of stuff. And so divorce is a big breakup of family relationships. And I had already been estranged from my family of origin for various reasons. So for me, there was nothing. So nowadays, I've developed a different community. I have new family. I have new community. And my life got stable with that. So it wasn't about programs and things like that or special personal achievement. It was about people learning to live with each other and being willing to take care of each other.
Where were you living at the time? Like 18 years ago, 16 years ago?
Here in Denver. I've been here most of my life.
Tell me about. Well, I mean, were you working at the time?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
So I've got a background. Worked and I graduated as a chemist. Worked in the lab for a while. Escaped out of the lab. Did some regulatory compliance work. .com boom happened and some stuff happened. Wound up doing a lot of call center stuff. Just whatever I could do. So all kinds of things.
Where did you go to college? Where were you?
Yeah. Started off at School of Mines. Took me 2.5 years to flunk out of that school and finished up over here at Metro.
Nice. All right, but you did finish up. You got the degree.
Yeah.
You were like 22, 23. How, if you don't mind my asking, I'm 48. How old are you?
I am 57.
Okay. All right. So we're in the same ballpark. And you were working as a chemist, and you said you escaped out of the lab.
Well, there's two different kinds of chemistry. There's chemists who actually get to do chemistry, and then there's quality control. The chemistry's already done, and you're just doing routine testing in order to check a product's purity or for impurities and things like that. And so I was doing that in the pharmaceutical industry for a while. So it was like cooking donuts every day. A lot more complicated, but it was the same thing every day. It wasn't really exciting. And so being able to investigate processes and figure out how to fix them and whether or not they were compliant with regulatory compliances seemed a lot more exciting to me than doing routine testing day in and day out. I mean, earlier I was telling you about I hadn't finished my homework trying to find out about you guys, you know. That same tendency was there.
No, I've discovered nobody ever finishes their homework. Homework is just the ongoing cost of living, I guess. I don't know. So what made you get into chemistry in the first place?
Well, I wanted to be a paleontologist. My high school counselor had no idea what they were doing. I did well on my school test. My grade point was good, so they said go to mines.
Yeah.
But mines isn't a place for a paleontologist. It's a place for a geologist. Paleontologists should have gone to CU where they're actually doing the archaeology and that kind of work. At School of Mines, they're all engineers, and so they're more interested in discovery and extraction, which I really wasn't excited about. So after I finished up there, when I said, well, what can I do? The thing that I had the most credits that were transferable in was chemistry, so I worked to get my teaching certificate and finish up on my chemistry degree. And when I graduated, I realized I wasn't really ready for the classroom and classroom control, so I just went into the lab, and then life took its shape from there.
What part of Denver were you living in?
Early part of my life, north part of Denver, Federal Heights and whatnot. Middle part of my life, South Denver, Inglewood, things like that. And since I went homeless, right here downtown.
How many homeless people do you think, and obviously this is a rough estimate, it's anecdotal, this is not a scientific study, how many of them do you think have a college degree?
That's hard to say. I would estimate that the percentage is maybe 10% less than the national average, whatever that is.
Somewhere like 30, 35.
What's the national average is 30, 35? Then I would say like 20 to 25% have a college degree. And probably a lot higher college, but maybe not necessarily graduated. A lot of times what happens to people is their life blow-ups will happen at an inopportune time when they're in college and they never get to finish.
What's the most frustrating thing about not having the four walls, not having the key, not having the roof? What's the thing that I just wouldn't understand without hearing from you?
The exclusion from everywhere else. Not being able to. So, before Denver Homeless Out Loud started, I had this idea for a ministry, and it was to teach churches about how to receive homeless folks into their churches, because they don't know how. And the homeless community, they don't know how to integrate in. Got a bubble. Homeless person walks in, they're in the bubble, they don't know how to get out, and the church doesn't know how to get in because of all of these preconceived stereotypes about who people are and what they are. So the plan was to teach them about community. One of the biggest things that happens in the homeless community is they get expelled from everywhere. Denver's a great example with the mayor and his sweeps. Every time visible homelessness is there, they expel them from where they can be seen, and then they wind up someplace else. They expel them from where they can be seen. It's all about hiding their visibleness. And then when they show up in any kind of institution, they get treated differently than the rest of the people who walk into these places. So it's this ostracization, this shaming, this othering. That is the worst thing about not having a place to call home.
Yeah, that worked. I did not expect that answer. And I appreciate you kind of opened my eyes to it. Let me ask just about, and this question I'm going to confess is probably motivated by the fact that I really want to use the bathroom. what
It's right over there.
it might be everywhere I'm looking.
Of course, truth be known, there's probably not an alley in this city that I haven't hit when I was homeless at one point or another.
I think you and I might have encountered each other in the alley behind my place. I hear you. I'm on YZ. All right, let me ask, like, what are the day-to-days, like the the bathrooms, the food, the rain. How do you react to that?
Rain, you get out of it by going inside someplace. Before
Where?
COVID, there was a lot of opportunities. Oh, you got a big old library that's open all day long. They have day shelters and whatnot. And it's not as easy these days, but you used to be able to just get underneath an overhang in front of a building and whatnot. I mean, with all the building and stuff going on the extra security. But, it's been 5 or 6 years since I've been on the street. So people's ability to hide and use what's already out there as cover and protection from the weather is disappearing. So I had some opportunities to hide from it fairly easily. Really, the major thing you had to deal with was the cold. So that's the weather thing. But just regular things. There's a lot of charitable folks that have regular meals. So you just kind of plan a meal schedule. Some feed once a week, some feed every day of the week. Figure out where the vegetables are, and places that you can get to that are on other things that you need to take care of. And then figure out what your goals are. Try to work your way towards those. And then figure out where you can sleep and not be disturbed.
Weirdly, you're making it sound easy, and I suspect that that's because you succeeded doing it for 4.5 years, but it feels like monumentally, inconceivably hard to me. You know what I mean? Like actually
I
making
think
it
some
like
people, because of preconceived ideas of homelessness, make it harder on themselves than they have to. I think a lot of people think that, oh, now that I'm homeless, I need to behave a certain way because other people expect me, and they'll wind up making poor choices because of that, and making it harder on themselves, without realizing, stick to the basics: food, clothing, water, shelter. And then from that, you work on building something. You make friends and try to integrate into some other communities and build something for yourself, which is hard to do when you're ostracized. I had some events in my life that worked out for me that, may not work out for other folks.
Like what?
I mean, because a lot of people live in a lot of hopelessness, and so they stop trying. And so when they stop trying, it gets harder. And they just wait for something to come to them, rather than, living their lives. The ministry I was trying to, it was to teach people, it wasn't only just to teach the churches, but to teach folks out on the street how to live their life to the fullest. So you can still go to free concerts, you can still make friends, you can still get involved in stuff. You don't have to self-limit yourself. There's no laws against that. But because there are places where they'll get ostracized, people will stop and they'll, and then you get depressed and sad, and it causes other kinds of issues that come with the sadness and the depression and the anxiety.
You're talking about the sadness and the depression and the anxiety.
Uh-huh. So
How many people have you lost out here?
me,
Yeah.
6, not for a while.
Can you tell me about them?
One died in surgery, and others, life went on, lost track of them, and heard their names read at the regular vigil that they have, that the Colorado Coalition does when they read the names.
Tell me about that. I'm not even familiar.
At the solstice, the Colorado Coalition carries on a Catholic worker tradition of the Catholic worker has a week-long vigil in front of the city and county building where they honor the homeless that had died that year. About 30 years ago, the Colorado Coalition picked up one of the nights, and they gather all the names of the people that died and they read them, and that's kind of become the focal point of it. So everybody turns out for that, and they read the names of all the homeless folks who died the year before. People come out and honor them, and for some folks that I had lost track of, that's when I'd heard their names read, and I'm going like, oh crap.
What? We were, huh?
Battery warning.
Oh,
You think
What?
Jerry talks a long time?
I know you're doing great, Ben. I appreciate it.
want to hear more about
We're talking about the anxiety. Can you tell me about like maybe some of your darkest spells out here?
For me, less anxiety, more depression. I mean, early on there was some fear. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And then I realized there ain't nothing out here to be afraid of. Drug man knows you don't have money. So if you don't do drugs, you don't owe him money, you're good, and he knows you're not the police. So that fear's gone. Everybody on the street knows who you are because your face gets familiar because you're out on the street all the time. So there ain't nothing to fear out here unless you're putting yourself into positions. It's different for women than it is, I was your age when I was homeless, young and healthy and still athletic at the time.
Jesus, nobody has used those adjectives in reference to me in so long. I can't even.
So for me, with my youth, the fact that I'm white, a little tall, and then I wasn't pretty much interested in creating more trouble. I didn't really have anything to fear. There aren't any gangs out here in the downtown center. That's why the international folks like downtown. The gangs aren't downtown here in Denver. I mean, there was some stuff in the 80s, but that's all gone now. I mean, there's stuff in the high schools and things like that, like there is in every city. But in Denver, you don't have gangs rolling in the downtown area, so it's very attractive to investors. And that's why we have such a gentrification. That's part of why we have a gentrification problem, is because it's attractive and they don't have that additional thing to try to invest over the top of.